let's get started. Hi, everybody. My name is Priska Lee. I am the 2022 EDGE Committee National Chair. Today, we are talking about social media and how critical it is to your strategic success. So thanks, everybody who hopped on. I just want to introduce our panelists today. We have Jamie Tian from Rodeo Realty, Ace Watana Supart from Swish Capital, and Dylan Nguyen from Live Sotheby's. So these guys, they put in a lot of time and effort to build a real presence on their social media profiles. And today is all about learning what their strategies were. So topics like strategic posts, balancing business with personal, building your following organically while maintaining authenticity, and how to leverage your social media throughout your leadership journey. Those are some of the things that we will be discussing today. So let's get started. I want to keep this, very conversational. So it's not going to be like a 1, 2, 3, how to do these things. This is a lot more talking about things such as approach. So let's actually start with that. Let's start at the bare basics. The approach to social media is usually one of two ways. So when it comes to building and maintaining your presence, you have to put in either time yourself or the money to spend to have a team work on it for you. So what's your approach, guys? Time versus money. What do you have to say on the topic, and what approach do you guys take? Let's start with Jamie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie Tian. I'm your luxury committee chair this year. Personally, I do run my social media accounts by myself. I find that it's like the most authentic way to do it for me personally. So I do create all my own reels. I do post them myself. But I know that a lot of people like Dylan, for example, do have a team that helps them out with that, which I think it's fine as well. I think it's just whatever works best for you. And I think that if you do have a team that does it, maybe Dylan can talk more about that, but you obviously want to meet with them on a personal basis often so that you make sure that they're authentic to your voice.
Awesome. Dylan?
Hi, everyone. This is Dylan. Like Ace mentioned earlier, I am outdoors. We just landed in, talk about being real, right? So we are in, the wife and I, we just decided to make a quick jaunt out to Calistoga, California. So I'm actually in the same time zone as, as a lot of the ARIA folks. So, but going back to Jamie's point, I think you've got to decide if you're going to approach social media, if you're going to use time or money. Time is money, right? So if you're going to do time and you're going to do this, I think you've got to go all in, but know that it's going to take up a lot of time. Or you say, I'm going to have someone else do it because I'm not that great at the creative direction, whatever the case may be, or you just don't have the time, but then you're going to be spending a lot of money. So I think it'd be interesting to hear from the other panelists on here, like, is there a fine balance? So for me, just having my, hands in just a bunch of different pots, time is the one thing that I always found very, very scarce. So I said, if we're going to do this, I want a certain look, and I'm going to invest money to have a team help me curate this look that I was trying to do.
Awesome. Yeah, I know that, Dylan, you definitely have some stuff to say about still maintaining your authenticity, even though you have a team. So, even though your team is doing a lot of the posting for you, I know that you tell them, which direction to take, what you like and what you don't like. And I think that that's pretty cool that you're like hands-on, and you're always saying that it's still you, it's 100% still coming from you. So yeah, do you have anything to say about how to direct the team?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing, when I'm sitting with my marketing team, is that I am hands-on in the sense that, no different than, let's say, like a Kim Kardashian or a Martha Stewart or whatnot. Obviously, I think Jamie and I, we were talking about this, they see their feed, but ultimately they have people that are curating the look. And so I decided very early on that I wanted that the Denver Dylan brand to be more to kind of blur that line of lifestyle / real estate agent, as opposed to just being hey, holding the just sold sign, or, sitting at a closing table with my arms wrapped around the client. cringe. I don't do that, but you know, we decided very early on that that I was going to be heavily involved. There is a certain look that I want, but even though someone else is running with the baton with the actual like minutia and the granular in it, we do have our, you know, monthly meetings. We look at what the lineup is for the whole month, on what every post is going to look like every single week. You know, during that meeting, I'm like, no, pull that out. I don't like how that looks. I don't like how this resonates with the brand. They probably bang their head against the wall, like, oh my gosh. But I think out of those meetings, you know, you get to sharpen and tune like what the look is of the brand. And so I am hands-on. It is all authentic in the sense that it is me, exactly what I'm doing. It's just mine is more geared from a lifestyle sense, not so much a corporate sense, but it is a little bit more lifestyle geared. And I think that you know, I'm assuming that's probably one of the things is like, what's the look or whatnot that you're trying to go for? And for me, it definitely was more of a lifestyle geared look that we were trying to curate with our social media.
Awesome. Thanks, Dylan. Ace, what about you?
Hi, Priska. Hi,
Hi.
in case you guys don't know, but yeah, I love what Jamie and Dylan just said, right? Of course, authenticity is so important, but you have to take social media like a real business. And a lot of people, they use it as maybe like a hobby or secondary, right? And I think if you really want to leverage and really take advantage of the opportunities that social media can provide for you, think about it. It's a free platform. You're not paying for leads. You're not paying for listings. And one of the things that Dylan said that really resonated with me is that you have to invest in it, right? And you don't have to start out with the team because it could be a little bit daunting, right? You could just do it yourself, but you should whiteboard. I think everything that Dylan was talking about, you know, when I started, I whiteboarded, meaning it's so easy to go down a rabbit hole of trying to be someone that you think is entertaining, or you look at someone, you're like, oh, you know, I really like his or her style, but you just be yourself, right? If you whiteboard and you think about the 5 things that you're passionate about, or the 3 things that you really, really love, then those are the things that you're going to be talking about. Number 1 should be real estate, obviously, because we're all real estate professionals. But then what else are you really good at, right? Do you love sports? Do you love cooking? Do you love music? Those things should be a part of your whiteboard and strategy. And then and to Dylan's point, you just create a calendar and you create what days you want to post about that hobby, right? And now you're more organized and you're running it as a business. And, you know, Jamie said, you know, be authentic, right? I think you have to really look at what your strengths are, and you just try not to be someone that you're not, right? A lot of times you'll see Instagram, they'll say those reels where it's like Instagram versus reality, right? So you don't really need to have Instagram versus reality, just be reality, right? Just be yourself. And I think another thing that I wanted to really point out is that you really get what you give, meaning this is a community. It's a huge community that you can connect with people from all over the world, right? Like I'm sitting here in New York right now. I can go and talk to Dylan and comment on his stories at any time. Jamie too, Priska too. And, you know, we're so connected in today's environment that you really want to just not focus on only your page, on what you want to, I guess, produce and put out there to the world, but you also want to comment. You want to give back. You want to really, really be engaging within your community, whatever that is, right? Whether it's food, whether it's real estate, you want to make sure that people see you and that you're supporting one another. And I think that's really important because a lot of people will look at social media, will look at their likes, look at their comments, but they're not really looking at what are they doing? Are they spending enough time? And I'm not saying you need to be on it 24/7, but you should allocate maybe on a Sunday when it's a little bit quiet, maybe an hour, right? Just look at your feed, see if you can comment on others, support them. And you'll be surprised that if you do that organically, you're going to start building a huge, huge community around you, right? So now when you post something, they're going to really, really support you as well. So that's all, Priska.
Okay, thanks, Ace. You know, you're absolutely right about the engagement. I think that a lot of people think if you just post like 20 times a day that you're going to get all this mass following. But I find that the people who build the most organically and have the most followers, they have a lot of engagement. There's a lot of comments in their posts, and you see them commenting a lot on other people's posts. It's like a conversation. You have to go back. It's a give and take situation. And I think if you are on there just for the sole business of trying to promote yourself and get more business, it may not work. You know, you really need to think about it as a community, like Ace said. And we're going to talk actually a little bit later about all the things that you can get out of social media and how you can leverage it to your advantage. But let's go back a little bit to creating your brand. So you guys all have a very unique style in your social media profiles. And, you three were chosen for a reason. All three of you are very effective online. And I know that you've leveraged social media in so many awesome ways, in ways that a lot of us wish we could. And that's why you guys are here today to share your secrets. So when it comes to creating your brand, how did you even figure out what type of brand you wanted? How did you figure out how to create that voice and the texture of your and your image overall? Let's start with Dylan.
So great question. One of my little secret weapons that we use in all of our meetings is Planoly. You pay for it. It's a small app. It's super duper. I don't know if anyone else on here uses Planoly as well, but Planoly is an app where I can visually see, when my team says, "Hey, Dylan, in anticipation for our meeting, next week, here's the run of show, or here's the lineup for the week." So Planoly is really great because I can visually see what's about to go down for the next month, right? And see in the entire grid, what the whole look of the month is gonna look like. So Planoly has been really great. And then the other thing that you got to ask yourself is, it's kind of you got to look at your social media like a magazine. When people flip through, what's the story you're telling?
Yeah, yours actually does look like a magazine, so that's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. Ace, what about you? You have a very low key but high key, nonchalance about your page. But, the moment you post, there's 1,000 likes on it right away. How did you do that? And how did you create that type of feel?
Priska, I haven't been as active on social media as much because I've been working on the business side of things, but I do plan on really focusing more on social media with different platforms, right? But I think when you talk about your brand, you don't really know, right, when you start. And when I started maybe a couple years ago, 5-6 years ago, you don't really know, and that's why I mentioned earlier, you just want a whiteboard, right? And you just want to really sit down, take a step back, and really see who you are, right? What is it that you're passionate about? Number one, because that's gonna really show when you post something. And what is it that you're an expert in, right? What's your subject matter expert? And just start talking about those things. And then eventually you'll build a brand, right? But you have to have a little bit of strategy. You can't just be all over the place and post here you're partying and here you're doing this. So you just kind of have to be a little bit more organized. But I think your brand will slowly come out. Sometimes it's one of those things where you can have a certain sort of strategy going into social media, but how your audience and how you interact with your audience is going to be critical to what your brand becomes.
Mm-hmm. I think Ace might have frozen. Okay, so while he's coming back, why don't we go to Jamie? Jamie, what about you? When it comes to creating your brand, what have you done? Because I know that you're a real estate agent and a really successful one at that. So what types of strategies have you taken to build your image?
So I think when you first start off on social media, all you can really do is just test things out, right? Throw some different types of posts out there and see what your audience responds to, because everyone's audience is different. The great thing is if you post something terrible and no one likes it, no one saw it anyway. So it doesn't really matter. And if you post something great that everyone loves, then you get the feedback and you know that it's working, and then you can kind of try to replicate those type of posts. I think my social media, I try to kind of show a glimpse into my life. So I do, of course, focus a lot on the real estate aspect. So my new listings, my solds, my open houses, things like that. But I also try to kind of humanize myself and be authentic and show the things that I'm doing every day. So I like to share when I'm doing cooking. I like to share my gardening, just just things, fun things that I'm doing throughout the day. And it gives people more reasons to relate to you. So people follow you because they relate to you or they like something that you're doing, and you need to give them a couple different things about yourself that they could like, right? So of course, there's agents that follow me just because they want to network. There's younger agents that follow me because they find it inspirational or motivational and they want help. There's also people that just follow me because they think my cooking videos are fun to watch. You know, it just depends on the type of audience. But at the end of the day, you're reaching out to these people over and over again, and you kind of build a connection with them over time. And then over time, whether you know them in real life or not, of course, if you met them in real life, then it's an even better connection that you're kind of forming online. But oftentimes, you know, there are people that I haven't met in real life, but I've known them on social media and interacted with them on social media so often that it feels like we're friends. And it feels like we actually know each other in real life. And sometimes when we eventually meet, it's like, wow, I can't believe this is actually the first time I'm meeting you. It feels like I've known you for several years. So yes. I think that kind of touches on what Ace said as well, is that you have to give back to your followers and your community as well. And you need to respond to them, interact with them, engage with their posts, notice who's following you, like, and being more consistent about liking your posts and really supporting you, and support them back. I mean, it's kind of like any relationship in life, you have to give back when you receive as well. So.
And, you know, Instagram's algorithms make you do that too. You know, like the more engaged you are, the more your feed pops up on other people's phones. So it's smart, you know, and it knows if you're putting in the work. So it definitely, as you guys, there's like a recurring theme here where it really takes a lot of planning. You really need to plan. You can't just, I mean, you can post spontaneously, but I think that if you pre-plan what you're going to be putting out there and you sort of know what type of content and what type of topics, like for instance, I really like to follow people who teach me things that I don't know. So if I learn something new from someone's page, I'm immediately going to click follow. I think like that's just something that tickles me. Like I like to, even if it's just random fun facts, like if I learn something different that day because of somebody's post, I'm going to follow them because it's interesting to me. But let's go back to Ace before he froze up. I know you were talking.
Yeah, sorry, Prisca. First of all, okay. if you're going to do social media, make sure you have a strong Wi-Fi connection, right? but you know, going back to what I was saying, and hopefully I don't get frozen again. I don't know what's going on with my Wi-Fi today, but I think, you know, I just heard the end tail of Jamie about giving back, but I think one of the things that you have to just think about when you're starting it, and I want to talk to the people that haven't started their social media page yet, because it could be daunting, it could be intimidating, right? I think you just have to start. You're never going to actually get it right in terms of like your brand, because you never know how you may change, you may pivot, you know, things may change. You may want to put other content out there. So don't be too focused so much on, you know, making it perfect for the outside world. Just focus on yourself, focus on the little things, right? Like, what is it that you love to talk about? And just like what you said, Prisca, if you can educate someone and teach them something, I think they'll really resonate with that, right? So whether that's like, I don't know, like Dylan's, you know, his walk around the neighborhood, or like Jamie, you know, like there's just so many things that like from talking to Jamie, like she's so good with Web3 technology, right? If she talked a little bit about that, I would be following her all the time too, right? So like we all have to just look at what our strengths are and just share that. But I think there's certain tricks that you can also use with social media. So organically, the two biggest platforms right now, if you guys want to write this down, it's TikTok and LinkedIn. Instagram isn't really their logarithms. You have to pay for the clicks and things of that nature. And within the first hour, you really have to respond to all of your comments to get more engagement. And it's not really, it's not organic anymore on Instagram or Facebook, right? But the two platforms, that's why so many people are shifting towards those platforms. And I don't even really have a TikTok presence at all, but TikTok is really organic. That's why you see so many people with millions of followers so quickly, because it's really, really organic. Instagram, it's a little bit different. And LinkedIn, believe it or not, it's a professional platform, but that's the most organic form as well. So you just want to make sure that you're in the know in terms of trends. Like Instagram Reels are really, really popular. So they're like 60-second, 90-second videos. You guys can actually, I just learned about it last week from one of my friends, right? So she said, you can actually pick the song, look at the song that's really trending, And then if you pick that same reel, the words are already there. I know it sounds confusing, but it's so easy to do. It took me like literally a minute to do a reel. I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. So like you can always learn on what's new and things of that nature. So you're constantly learning, right? So the reels are really good. And stories, like I can tell you, I haven't really posted a lot at all, but I do a lot of stories, right? Like, and the stories are just like really like the meetings that I'm in or like what I'm doing during the day. And believe it or not, you get thousands of views from people that are not even friends with you, number one. And number two, people comment on your stories because it's live, right? So that's something that's really simple. Just take out your phone and just do a story, right? It takes seconds. You basically just, slide to the right on your profile page, and then you'll be able to do a live story. And then one of the things that is really, really popular, which I'm not really accustomed to yet, is Instagram Live. There's a lot of people that do Q&A and they'll just jump on, but you can actually market it too, right? You can actually tell people, hey, I'm going to be with so-and-so and we're going to do a live Q&A at 7 p.m. tonight. Follow me on my stories, right? And you can do a live session. I think that's really good. That's something that I would recommend folks trying. If you don't even want to post, you could actually do stories. And you can actually do like Instagram Live and you can practice that way too. So there's just so many different ways. Just use what you feel comfortable. Don't force yourself to do something that you don't want to do. But the one recommendation that I do encourage is you have to start, right? It's just like anything else in life. Like if you don't start, you're just going to be thinking about, this is what I want to do, but it doesn't look good. Just do it, and just test it out. And the best thing about stories is it goes away.
Yeah.
4 hours.
I was gonna say.
So if it looks crazy or you're like, oh, why did I do that? You can always take it down, or it just goes away in 24 hours, right? So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that it goes away. You can use it almost like a practice platform to see what works and how you're gonna, gauge your audience, see who's gonna like it the most. I do realize that you get the most immediate response when you post reels, when you do stories or any type of like video live type of situation. Posts are like old news now. If you post something, you have to be very conscientious about it because it stays there, and I feel like that's, you have to put a lot more thought into it. And like Dylan said, it is a lot like a magazine when you make a post. But when you do reels, that is actually an easy way for you to show your authentic self and like have a little glimpse into the life of Ace, into the life of Jamie and Dylan. And I think that a lot of people are curious about getting glimpses of each other's lives. Like that's sort of why all these videos are trending and things like that. But on that note, I actually have a question. The question of business and personal. So some people have a business account and then they have a personal account. They keep it separate. So there's like various different kinds of advice floating around where some people will say you really need to keep it separate and some people will be like, no, that's old school. You have to blend it. So what do you guys have to say about the business and personal aspect? Should you have two accounts? And if not, then how would you balance that? Let's start with Dylan.
I was waiting for Jamie to answer this one because I think on our prep call we were talking about this. So how about this? I'm not dodging the question, but Jamie, I think you phrased it really well on our call about people and I think it's very notorious in our industry, right? Like lenders and realtors, they'll have like their business page and then they'll have their friends and family page, which I think is a load of shit. But Jamie, you tell me. I mean, you phrased it best on that last call.
Well, I think that there may be certain professions where the corporation doesn't allow you to post about your personal life or something like that, and that's understandable. But personally, I do believe that you should have one page. It doesn't make any sense, especially as realtors. Our business life and our personal life are very much meshed together, and our personal connections are our clients and people who give us referrals. So it really doesn't make sense to separate your life into two pages. You're really just cutting your followers in half and separating them for no reason when you could be putting them together. And I think that it's important, even as a business person, especially as a realtor, people choose you to become their agent because they relate to you. And usually that's on a personal level. There's millions of agents out there and there's even more clients, and the reason that all of us have our own clients in business, even though we're all competitors, is because people relate to different types of people. So you need to show glimpses of who you are as a person besides for just business. And that makes people relate to you more and want to follow you and also want to be your client. So that's why I think it doesn't make any sense to have two separate accounts. It's also just really confusing. Like, which one should I post it to? When people want to reach out to you, they don't know like, which one should I contact you at? I think it just kind of splits up your following for no reason. So I do believe that one account is better.
Yeah, awesome. In today's day and age, I honestly think that it's difficult to separate business with your personal life. And anybody that manages to do so, I want to know how, because there's just such a mesh of like, especially in the real estate world, I feel like you can't separate it. It's just not possible, because the people that you hang out with and know personally are your clients, and your clients become your friends. So it's like, where do you draw that line? But Dylan, now that Jamie spoke, what do you have to say?
Okay, so so Jamie, thank you for that. And again, guys, sorry for the background noise. I'll be quick and then I'll go on mute. But I think that when you have 2 pages, I think it says, hey, I'm not really about the relation. Again, I know that there's circumstances where like your company won't allow you, but I think that more and more people want to work with people that they know, like, and trust. And I think the whole day of like the used car salesman, you're just a number on a spreadsheet. I think those days are long gone, or at least they're dwindling. So I think by having 2 pages, you're setting the precedent to your client that there's a clear delineation. Work is work. And as soon as the transaction's over, that's it. You don't get to see anything else. And you're just a number on a spreadsheet, and you're just a quote unquote customer, because everything else that who the real me is on a separate page. And I'll decide whether I want you on that. And I think that just sends the wrong message. It's very transactional. It's very impersonal. And I think for real estate agents and lenders who are actually like the B2C, we have to blur that line, right? Like, I would say keep it with 1 page. Like, there's an agent in my office is like, oh, I've got 1,000 followers on my business page and another 1,000 on my personal. And I'm like, that makes no sense at all. Like, that literally makes no sense at all. Like, why can't people see what you're doing, you know, in real life? I don't know. Like I said, I think that for me, I'm a fan of having 1 page, sprinkle a little bit of work, sprinkle a little bit of what you're doing, sprinkle the vacation in there, sprinkle, right? So people can see who the real you is. I mean, more and more, there's a new app called Be Real, which is a French company that just launched. I know that Instagram has been trying to play around, because the whole notion of being real is huge, right? Instagram and all these other apps have filters on how to doctor up and your image, and it shows where you're at in the world. And a lot of people like try to create these fake lives. So Be Real is actually trying to like cut through the crap and say, let's be real. And it's actually activating your front camera and the back camera. So that way there's no filters. The only way you can continue to scroll through the feed is if you take a picture of yourself and whatever else is where you're at. And so I know that Instagram is playing with their version of Be Real. So there you guys heard it here first. If you guys aren't already on there, Be Real has now blazed past TikTok. And Ace, I don't have a LinkedIn, so we can talk about that later. I made a very considered decision to say I'm off of LinkedIn. I just took it off again, but that's just me. I'm all Instagram all the time. That's my poison of choice.
That's so funny. Ace, what about you? Business versus personal.
Yeah, I agree with Jamie and Dylan for sure, right? One of my good buddies, Gary Vee, I've known now over 12 years, and he's a big personality on social media. So he told me, Ace, put it this way, right? So, and he framed it the best. And that's when it really changed my mindset. He's like, what if since social media is a community, right? And it's supposed to be based on having a socialized sort of friendship. What if you went to somebody and said, hey, I'm a real estate agent, and every single day, that's your conversation. I'm a realtor. I'm a realtor. I'm a realtor. I'm a realtor. You wouldn't really want to follow that friend ever, right? In a social setting. So why would you want to do that on social media? So basically, he said, look, one of the biggest sort of reasons why people follow people is because, they want to be able to what Jamie said, to relate, right? So if they see that you're going to a restaurant, sometimes they'll comment, oh my goodness, is that restaurant good? Should I try that restaurant too? So showing your lifestyle and blending in the two sort of worlds will really, really resonate with people a lot more. I definitely agree with with Dylan and Jamie. Don't have two separate posts. Just show your genuine self, right? Even outside of work, because you'll never know what people will relate to. Like if you're going to your kid's soccer practice, like that could relate because the other client or realtor could have kids that are going through the same thing at soccer practice, right? So they may ask you, oh, you know, like how was your coach and how was that league, right? So you never know. You just want to be able to put yourself out there. And I think if you blend the two, you know, I think people follow people because of what they've gotten to know through social media, through their personal lives, right? And I think you connect better because if you just show your business side, it's great, but it gets a little boring, right? Like we're all showing the same thing, we're all talking about the same thing. So I think really showing your personal side to social media will make you a lot more interesting, and it'll create more engagement, right? At the end of the day. So I agree with Jamie and Dylan for sure.
Awesome. So do I. But, you know, I think that the overall recurring theme with what you guys are saying is like really about being authentic. So you're saying like be authentic, be likable, and show all these different things. And what Ace just said, you know, if you go to a restaurant, someone might say, how is it? So let's talk a little bit about like lead generation, influencer marketing. You know, I think that like the way influencer marketing is shifting is really all about being real. And the moment that people sense you're not, you'll lose that credibility, you lose the followers. So Jamie, what do you have to say about that? Like, I know that you talked a little bit about that topic during our practice session, and I really liked what you had to say. So when it comes to like influencer marketing, like where do you think the culture is and how is it shifting?
Yeah, I think that people today, especially the younger generation, like Gen Zs, they don't like advertisements. So they don't believe in advertisements. They don't believe in TV commercials, you know, those are kind of like a thing of the past for them. They believe in the influencers they follow. So the influencers they follow may review a restaurant, a toy, makeup, cosmetics, and they believe in that influencer's because that influencer has been authentic and genuine to them. So the influencers are very, very careful about what products that they promote on their website, what brands they align with. And so because they have this huge following, the younger generation really likes to read these reviews, watch these videos, and they really respond to that well. They see normal advertisements and they say that it's basically like cringeworthy. You know, it's not really what they want to see, and they'll immediately unfollow you. And then these influencers have to be so careful because if they align themselves with a brand that's a scam, not real, they'll literally.
Okay, we're having technical problems, but you know, to what Jamie was saying, I completely agree. You know, I look at a commercial, I watch a commercial, and it does like get me interested. Like it makes me aware of the product, but I by no means I'm just gonna go out and buy it. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna read reviews. I'm gonna look it up on YouTube and Instagram to see what people have to say about it before I go ahead and make that purchase. And I'm very like thoughtful about who I follow and whose opinions I trust. So I think like being authentic is super important. But Dylan, what about you? Like, I know that you've leveraged social media for like lead generation, but you've done it in a very, very authentic way. And everybody knows you as Denver Dylan. Even me, who lives in New Jersey, you know, as soon as I think of Denver, I do think of you, to be honest. And within ARIA, everybody calls you Denver Dylan. So tell me a little bit about that and how that's gone.
The branding's working, right? Like the branding is working. And so actually I don't use social media as quote unquote lead gen. It is strictly for purposes of just continuing to drive that brand into your head. So I think, again, you know, this is a webinar about how to leverage social media and how to, you know, I think there's a bunch of different ways. Some people are all about the pay-per-clicks. I actually looked at it as strict, you know, some companies use newsletters, right, via email to keep their brand recognition and keep it forefront. For me, my version of the newsletter was my Instagram, and to be able to constantly be in front of like my sphere. So I'm never like actually like paying for people, just random people, you know, because I know on the metaverse, if you go on the back end to like the business ad section, you can like specifically target like, oh, I only want to target, you know, millennials that are between this. So whenever I do sponsored ads, it's the walk around the block, or it's the me making a martini or making whatever that pops up as a sponsor ad, and it'll pop up to you, Priska, and it'll pop up to Ace. And you guys will be like, what the F? Why is Dylan freaking targeting me? You know, and it's not, but it's more just to continually drop, you know, to do that drop of like, hey, I'm here, I'm Denver Dylan. And that's all, right? Because at the end of the day, when someone says, hey, Priska, do you have a good realtor for Denver? I've got some friends that are relocating to Denver. What's the first thing you're gonna say, right? And that's all I'm looking for. Because the next thing you know, you're gonna be texting me or shooting me an email. Hey, Dylan, my friends. And so that's my whole goal, is strictly brand recognition, and to continue to drive that branding and that message home to say, I'm Denver Dylan, and I approve this message. This is all about lifestyle, right? It's lifestyle. And this is what the glimpse of my little curated world of Denver looks like, right? So,
Yeah.
so that's my whole purpose behind it. It's never to create lead gen. I know that there's some agents that are like, oh, how do I think a lot of agents are looking for like the silver lining, and lenders like, how do I get deals? How do I get deals? Well, you've already messed up, because if you're going in it saying, how do I look for deals? You're not really looking. You know, back to Ace's point, you're walking into this metaphorical party and looking at people at who you can sell. For me, I want to go in and be like, hey, what's your name? If you ever come to Denver, I want to show you a good time, and I want to show you how to do my town. So that was actually that. I thank you, Ace, for sharing that. What Gary Vee said. Think of it as if you're walking into a party, and that you're there to make those connections, those meaningful connections, and networking. I think we're having some technical difficulties, right? Is Jamie? Oh, Ace is back on. Ace is back. So anyhow, so to my point, be authentic. Again, I use it strictly for brand messaging. You know, I look at what other brands are doing, whether it's Target, Nordstrom. Like, those guys aren't using it as a place to sell you stuff. They're just doing it as a way to completely imprint that brand into your head. And that was my goal.
Yeah, and that's brilliant. And I think that you're achieving your goal for sure. Because the moment someone says Denver, I do think of you when it comes to realtors. You know, I'm like, oh yeah, Denver Dylan, he knows Denver.
Thank you.
And you're selling really well by not selling. You know, I think nobody likes being sold to anymore. So the moment you're like, call me today, people are already like turned off immediately, you know. So
oh my God, kind of like those attorney. I'm sure you guys have them, like, yeah. Have you been hurt in a car accident? Yeah. Call me, Denver. I should do something like that. I should do a pretend real, like, and get up in a suit, you know, and like, you know, have my power, you know, phone for. Are you searching for a home? Call 1-800 Denver Dylan to find your next home, you know, to get the home that you deserve, you know?
Yeah, that'll put a lot of people in place for sure. So I see a lot of that even now, you know? Ace, what about you?
Well, first of all, Priska, after this Zoom meeting, I'm going to change my name to New York Ace because of Denver. Oh no, but all kidding aside, you know, I met Dylan about maybe 6 years ago, and I knew him. I knew that he was in Denver because of his tagline, because of Denver Dylan, right? So it definitely resonates. It definitely works. But I think for me, just like you, Priska, I don't like to do a hard sell, right? I don't want to say, hey, you know, Ace, you know, if you have any mortgage needs, come to me, right? I hate that the most. And I think one of the biggest things, whether you're a realtor or whether you're a mortgage banker, you know, you want to just be out there, meaning sometimes when I'm doing not a seminar, but a state of the market type of conversation with, let's say, realtors, right? I'll have someone just record it, and then I'll put it on my stories. And from there, people will ask me questions about the mortgage industry, where are rates going, things of that nature, right? So you're not really selling anything. You're just kind of educating them on things that you're talking about, right? So I think, you know, as anyone in the real estate industry, I think the more listings you go to, and the more sort of properties that you're attending and showcasing that on your stories. Like I've DM'd so many realtors in regards to, you know, like where is that property? What's the price point? Because it looks so interesting on their stories, right? And I'm like, oh, I may have a client that's looking for something like that. Like I can name numerous amounts of times that's happened, and vice versa. I get a lot of leads through LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook when people are looking for financing in New York, just because I guess we're just out there, but we're not really selling mortgages, right? Or we're not really selling real estate. We're just present. And I think that's important, right? The more events that you go to, just make sure you capture that a little bit to show people, hey, I'm in the marketplace. And if you're looking for something in that specific region, I'm there. Like, I know all of the newest trends that's coming to the market. I know all of the best properties, even though it's not my listing, right? Like that'll resonate with folks a lot more. So just make sure that you're showcasing that, I guess, on social media somehow. And you don't have to always do it as a post. Like I said, it could just be a story, and people will watch. You may be surprised, right? There's so many people that don't like or comment, but they're seeing your posts. And if they're seeing your posts, like there's so many people I go to events and they're like, oh, you're Ace. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, how do you know I'm Ace? But they see like some of your stories and then they feel like they know you already. They're like, oh, I know you. I feel like I know you because you were just here last week, right? So it's kind of cool to see the effects of social media. But like I said, Priska, like nobody likes like a hard sell anymore. I think what Jamie said is so critical too. People want to hear from experts and they want to hear from influencers, right, in that space because they value their opinions. And I think if you just do like a hard sell, it's never going to work, you know, in today's day and age for sure.
Agreed. Yeah, I think nobody wants to be sold to, you know, that's the moral of the story. Don't sell. People know what you do. Like they know what you do, unless you're terrible at getting that out there. People know you're a realtor. They know you're a lender. And then re-emphasizing it, just like I think it was Ace who said this, like in person, you're not going to run around and go up to people and say, I'm a realtor. Like nobody's going to talk to you. You have to be interesting in other ways and find common ground first. And then you can, you know, sort of slip it in there and they'll keep that in mind. But it's really all about like, how much do they like you? How authentic are you? And then brand awareness, like Denver Dillon. All right, so I actually want to get into a leadership component. So as you guys know, the EDGE committee has piloted a mentorship program this year, and we're trying to sort of rebrand ourselves as the future leaders of ARIA. So I want to kind of tie that in with social media and ask, like, how did you guys leverage your social media platforms, the presence that you have, the audience and the platforms? How did you leverage that through your leadership journey, and how do you use that to your advantage? Let's start with Jamie.
Hi, sorry, my internet is also crazy today. I just found out they're like working on the internet lines outside my house. I'm like, it's perfect timing today. But I think that with your following, you build it over time and you slowly get the followers, but you can use it to your advantage in a multitude of ways, right? So obviously for your business, but also for your leadership or your community service or whatever outreach that you do. It's just a way to put your message out there and get a lot of people to see it. And again, it's a way to put it out there without being as direct and kind of cringeworthy. Like instead of reaching out directly to people and saying, please come to this event, please come to this event, please come to this event, which of course is important and we do as well, but it's kind of a way to post about the event. And as you're sharing about the event, you know, I always post about all the different ARIA events I go to, and then people see what's going on at the convention. They learn things from the panelists. And then next time when I post, like, for example, this webinar with a link, people ask me like, when is this going to be? I would love to join in this webinar. It's just as you slowly build your following and your reach, then you're able to utilize it more to your advantage in a number of ways.
Awesome. Thanks. Ace, what about you? I know that you've had some stuff to say about your responsibility as a leader, you know, also about community and also a little bit about finding mentors online. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think for the EDGE, especially for the EDGE members, right? If you're starting out, like myself, you know, I started out, I didn't really know anyone. And I think social media allows you to have access. And I think one of the things is, if you don't have a lot of followers yet, it's okay. But you know, what social media provides you is the access to get in contact with mentors, right? There's just so many people that you can search and say, wow, I want to be just like him or her. And I want to learn from him or her, right? And it's like law of averages. I was telling Priska, Jamie, and Dylan during our prep call, you know, I used to DM like hundreds and hundreds of mentors that I thought I could learn from. And look, if you don't shoot your shot, you're never gonna have the opportunity, right? And maybe 2 out of the 100 responded, but the 2 out of the 100 I've been in contact with, and believe it or not, now that I'm doing my new venture, they're actually an investor in it, right? So it goes to show you, you could really have nothing to offer, but if you just put yourself out there, people are willing to mentor folks like yourself, right? Like if they see some potential and they see how much you've reached out to them, and they're like, and there's something of like admiration, right? Like when they look at you and they look at you as a 20, let's say 3-year-old kid, that's when I DM'd a lot of my mentors. I was 23, 24, new in the business. And I just really wanted to learn, how did they build their brand? How did they create such an amazing company through their core values, right? And they see that you did some research on their company, and they're like, wow, this kid is different, right? So I think what you don't want to do is just DM them blindly. I did a lot of research on them, right? I talked to them about the things that they did, and that resonates with people, right? Like think about if you go and you contact a mentor and you know their life, you don't need to know their whole life story, but you know a couple of bullet points, they're gonna be like, wow, this kid actually took out the time to really, like learn a little bit about me, right? So I'm not saying do it blindly where you're just DMing 100 people, hey, can I meet with you for coffee, right? Then they're gonna be like, what the hell's wrong with that, right? But if you just, bring up a couple of tidbits that you've done research on them, they're gonna be really impressed. And like I said, maybe not 100 people respond. If 2 people respond, then you've really created value in that way, right? On another perspective, if you're talking about leadership, you wanna be able to, and it comes down to just really giving back and offering your time. I think time is really money. We talked about that in the beginning. And I think in social media, so many people tend to post and just have people comment on their stuff and they never comment back, right? For me, if anybody takes out the time out of their busy day to comment, I'm always commenting back. And then it leads up to maybe like, hey, do you want to grab lunch? Do you want to grab dinner? I think time is a valuable asset that we all have and we all hold very, very dear to us, right? We keep it close because there's just so many things that you can help with. But I think in social media, if you give enough time to sort of like just, if someone's reaching out to you and they want advice from you, are you ignoring that DM? Are you responding to them after you get to a certain level? I made sure that I remembered that I was that kid at 23, 24 looking for help, right? And my assistant, sometimes I drive her crazy. She's like, Ace, you can't be meeting with all these people. And I was telling Priska and Jamie and Dylan, I've met some not so, on social media, there's going to be a lot of different personalities. Let's put it that way. Ones that are not, I would say not normal. And then my sister would be like, why did you do that? They're like crazy. And I'm like, look, you're going to get some of those. But for the most part, I think, if you open yourself up and you meet with those folks, once you're at a certain leadership position, you're going to get so much out of it, because not only are you learning from these the younger generation, because a lot of them are younger, right? Let's face it. An older person isn't going to DM me and say, Ace, can I learn from you? Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But I get a lot from younger folks. And I learn a lot, right? As much as they're coming in to learn from me, after the meeting, I'll think about what they said. I'm like, wow, he is so, or she is so smart, right? They're actually working on this project. So even though I'm giving advice, I actually, I'll call them back sometimes. I'm like, you know what? You have something here, right? Like, how can I invest in your idea, right? So it just works both ways. Like once you put yourself out there in the universe, just remember though, when you get to a certain level, I see so many of my colleagues too, they don't have time, and I don't blame them for that. But you do want to have that social responsibility that, hey, you didn't get there by yourself. It was a whole village that helped you behind you. So just remember to kind of give back, right? That's really like when you talk about leadership and sort of like that servant leadership mentality, you're really working for other people so that you can actually help each other kind of continue to succeed, right? And that's what I've always believed in. If I can help someone outside of my circle, I'm always willing to do it, because you never know what can happen, when you just give that person just that little push or that little support, right? So look, so 2 things, Priska. Number 1, if you don't have the network, don't be shy. Go out there and send as many messages as you can, because you'll never know what type of friendships you'll build. And number 2, once you're there, make sure that you're giving back and you're getting back to people and giving your time. So that's it.
You know, and Ace really walks the walk. He doesn't just talk the talk, you know, like he's doing some big things, opening up a bank, which I think is amazing. And he's so humble about it every step of the way. Every time I say like, oh wow, Ace, you're so cool. He's always like, oh, I got here because of all these other people. And there's like a big humility factor in being a leader. I think that's why a lot of people look up to people like Ace, why he has those followers, and his reputation is what it is for a reason, you know. So I really like that. Thanks. Dylan, what about you?
In terms of using my leadership skills that I've gained, at least from, being with Aria and Aria Edge, I think bringing it to the Denver Dylan branding. Vanessa and I, we were talking about this, and if you guys follow me, I did just a live, squawk box session on my Instagram about like what inclusivity in housing looks like, right? So we had the ARIA represented on there. We had NAREP, and then we also had NAREB, the Black Association, and we were talking about like the issues that impact. And so I think in a world where everything is like me, and like look at me, I'm the realtor. Like I brought the skills that I had learned from Aria into my personal branding and page to be able to show people like, hey, there's a bigger picture here, right? Let's not forget what this is all about. Let's not forget about the little guy who's struggling to buy a home, the challenges that are opposed, upon, us, the AAPI community, the Asian American Pacific Islander, for those who are watching. So I think for me, it was being able to bring in what I've learned from Aria, being on the edge as well as serving on other committees, and being able to sprinkle that into the Denver Dylan brand and bringing that to my quote unquote my regular crowd, right? One that has nothing to do with Aria, to be able to show them, hey guys, I want you to see kind of what goes on behind the curtain.
Yeah, you sort of become an ambassador for Aria. And who
exactly.
you are and what you put out there is a representation of the Aria community and, just Aria overall and what it stands for. So, definitely have a lot of integrity when you're posting and communicating with these people online, whether or not you know them live. You never know who you're going to meet in person one day. I actually want to throw the question over to Munt too. Munt is not part of our panel. He's actually a representative from Rocket Mortgage. However, he was an EDGE chair. So he is also a leader for Aria. Munt, how do you leverage social media to your advantage for your leadership positions?
Well, hey guys, it's good to see everybody. I popped on. I saw nobody else's cameras on. I'm like, why am I the only one on here? But it's good to see everybody. I see some amazing human beings in the chat that are chiming in. Amy, Donnie, Jessica, everybody, Linda. There's so many great people here on top of the panel. But really, I mean, how do I leverage social media for my leadership? Surprisingly, I learn a lot from social media. So I used to just follow whatever was entertaining. Now I follow only the people that I can learn from. So the only people that I continue following on my page are people that I can learn from. Like who's given a message out there to the world that's giving me a different perspective. I'll sometimes follow somebody that I completely disagree with just to make sure that I'm getting a different perspective. I learned so much from Dylan, whether one day it's real estate, the next day it's cooking, and random day of breakdancing, whatever it is that Dylan's doing. Ace, I'm not even going to try to play around and say I learned basketball from Ace. I'm not touching no basketball. But there's so much I learn from this guy every day, from leadership. And Jamie, just the way that you carry your page and the way that you consistently deliver in such a professional way. So just that's like really my biggest thing is like, I don't have a massive following, nor do I follow a lot of people, because I really use social media to develop myself. And I try to avoid just kind of the clickbait and the scrolling through. So everyone on there, like whether it's Donnie and all his traveling and what he's doing, or Amy, whatever she's doing, whether it be on Facebook, I stay connected to the community so well on Facebook. The ARIA community loves to be on Facebook, and I kind of keep up to date with a lot of people on Facebook, but also on Instagram. Outside of just our own community here at ARIA, I also use social media in times where like a lot is going in our society, a lot is going on in our society. And sometimes, like you all mentioned, you don't know who's looking up to you, or you don't know who's listening, right? So I offer my perspective on things, a genuine perspective, not because I just want to be seen or heard. I offer my perspective just to give someone else maybe an idea of like, oh, well, maybe I don't understand this, but Mutt is talking about this, or Ace is talking about this, or Dylan or Jamie's talking about this. So there's somebody that I respect. So maybe I'll actually look into this, or maybe I'll look to get involved with this issue or get involved with this conversation. So it's a fine line, because sometimes you can put stuff out there that really distracts people and it's not important, but you have to kind of be disciplined enough and be humble enough to hear. Like sometimes, I've had some of you guys pop in my DM and say, yo, like, this is, I want you to think more about this. Don't just jump to a conclusion. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. I know they would do that for me in person. So, I appreciate that they're willing to take that step and hop in my DM and tell me also, hey, maybe you should think about this differently, or maybe you should rephrase how you're going about something. And I think perspective. So if I can summarize everything I just said, perspective is the best way that I use social media. I know it's not specifically business, but I tie business and personal very tightly. And that's why I don't have a business and a personal account. I think everyone here feels the same way. I know you all don't have business accounts. You mix your personal and your business, because you are who you are, and that's who you got to be. So you can't be this fake person on Instagram and then you walk out and you're a completely different human being when somebody meets you in person, because they got to see the authenticity and the realness.
Yeah.
I just want to say that I jump into Mutt's DM any time of the week. So
Ace, if you take one takeaway from this, Ace loves diving in those DMs apparently.
I love that. I love your answer, Munt. I love that you channel your social media. There's a lot of garbage out there, but when you filter through that, there's a lot of incredible content. There's a lot of amazing people and amazing things that you can learn through social media. It's not just trash and selling and this and that. There's some really great topics and issues that people discuss on social media as well. And I love that you use it to follow the people that you respect, follow the leaders that you know and like, and you use it to sharpen your own skills and to keep that perspective. I think that that's really important, and a very unique answer, I might add. So Mud, since you gave the last answer, I know I kind of want to segue and just introduce Munt. He's actually from Rocket Mortgage. Although he was an EDGE Chair Committee, I know he has a great love for ARIA. I see him at all the national conventions. Munt, why don't you just give us a message, because Rocket Mortgage was kind enough to sponsor this. They are our partner. So yeah. Give us your spiel.
No, absolutely. Thank you. Honestly, I don't really need to say much. It doesn't require much to support this group. ARIA has been one of the most loyal groups to me as a person, but also to us as a brand, as Rocket Mortgage, Rocket Companies. Everybody here is supportive. I mean, Ace is in the banking industry and in the mortgage space, and him and I work together as if we're on the same company. Forget about being in the same industry. We're in the same company at most times, right? He supports me. He teaches me things that I would never have understood if not talking to him and his experience in the banking industry. Dylan, obviously on the real estate side, is always giving his perspective and his thoughts, candid thoughts as always about how he thinks we can improve every single day. And that's the most important thing really about sponsoring, is that a lot of people are just sponsor. A lot of people just give money, and I know some people pay a lot of money to be sponsors, but I consider it a partnership, a relationship. Like, we support ARIA because ARIA supports us. And it doesn't necessarily have to be business. It's feedback. It's saying, hey, you guys don't offer this product that you can offer, or you're not thinking about this demographic, or working on the housing reports, and the state of Asia, Asian American report, and things of that nature that informs us. We've gone out and lobbied with ARIA on things that we would have never thought about as a business, but because somebody brought it up to us and we're like, hey, yeah, we have a big presence in Washington, D.C. Let's use those relationships to support our community. So I see it as a relationship and as a partnership much more than a sponsorship. That's why, you don't even have to think twice to support an event, especially with this great panel here. So thank you guys. Don't thank Rocket. Thank you guys for keeping on doing the amazing work that you're doing, and we'll always be supportive and always be on the side of ARIA.
Thanks, Mud. We love you back. We love you back. Okay, so I want to wrap this up because we're hitting the top of the hour, but thank you guys so much for being here and for sharing your knowledge. I think it takes a lot of experience and hard work to have built your profiles up to where it is today. So thank you for sharing that and letting some of us shortcut, you know, that's pretty cool. I do want to remind everybody, so I don't know, like maybe we could do it this way. Jamie, can you tell us like one of the best experiences you've had coming to the ARIA National Convention? Like say something great that's happened to you from the National Convention.
Well, I think attending the national convention over the last, I don't even know, 5 or 6 years has been really rewarding to me in many ways. First of all, of course, I've met so many great people that are not only my friends, but now I consider basically my ARIA family. But also, I think it's helped me grow on a personal level as well, not only my business, but my leadership skills. It's kind of given me the and around like-minded people really is encouraging and motivating. So I hope everyone will sign up for our San Diego National Convention, which is October 20th, and I look forward to seeing you guys there.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Dylan, say something great about the National Convention. Why should people go?
You're an idiot if you don't sign up. Just do it. Just because I said so. And I approve of this message. You know what? Here's the thing with these conventions and these conferences. I know that Sotheby's is a big presenter. Brad Nelson, our chief marketing director out of New York, just sent in a video for the month of August and was also, you know, giving his blessing to, hey, come on out. I think what people see, you know, like those from the outside looking in, I think ARIA has been really great at creating such an incredible, powerful think tank and networking opportunity that I don't think many other organizations can deliver. And so for the investment that you're putting into it, the price, totally worth it. I would do it a bazillion times over. You know, going to like a NAR conference where there's, you know, thousands upon thousands and thousands of people. What we have at ARIA is that we have just something really special and really meaningful that that so much takeaways and the lifelong relationships that you can't put a price tag on. So for that reason, sign up. I approve this message. Do it. Get on there, aria.org. It's the best investment you'll have ever made in more ways than I can even describe it.
Thanks, Dylan. Ace, what about you? 1 minute.
Yeah, I encourage everyone to go. You get to meet folks like John, Alan, Okamoto, Jim, you know, Donnie, all the leaders that have sort of paved the way, right? And I think that's really important to know the history of ARIA. And it just goes to show you, like, that's who you want to strive to become, to give back to the community, right? And then you get to meet all of these amazing folks on the panel and everybody on the call here, right? So look, I always look forward to seeing Priska, catching up with her, Jamie, Dylan, Munt. These are like my really, really good friends in ARIA too. And look, if there's nothing that you take away from us here telling you to go and encouraging you to go, you know, you're gonna build some long-lasting relationships. You know, I have folks that no matter if I'm with ARIA, not ARIA, like Munt's always gonna be a brother. Dylan's always gonna be a brother to me, right? Jamie, Priska, you guys are always going to be a sister to me. So whenever you go to that sort of, I guess, state or whatever, you have family. And I think that's really important to me, where no matter if I'm in Dallas or whatever, and I'm not even telling anyone, but I just put it up on my stories that I'm here. I have so many ARIA folks contacting me. And to me, that's everything. So make sure you get your butt there. It's going to be
Ace, would you agree though that it can be a double-edged sword when people know you in every single market you're in? Sometimes you have to go in incognito mode because you're like, oh crap. And you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Jamie, remember LA, how that all went down?
Priska, you said it best. It's one big family, right?
Yeah, it is.
Really
it's one big family, like no joke. It's one big family. And you can't be part of it if you don't show up. So show up, come meet us. We're very, very lovely, nice people. Even if you don't know a soul or you're not really that involved, that's okay. Just come. when you meet everybody and you sort of drink the Kool-Aid, like you'll see the true power of ARIA. And you'll meet these influential people, these titans of the industry, if you will, and you'll realize that they are the friendliest people who will be your mentor, who will answer your phone call, and you're just gonna make friends and family all over the country. All it takes is one time. So sign up. The link, I think, is in the chat. So make sure you get there. And that is the recurring message from all of us. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here, and hope to see you guys soon in October. Thank you for listening in. Thank you, everybody, for the panelists for being here today. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.